All right, hello everyone.
Hello.
I am going to be reconvening a meeting that was started technically earlier today. My name is Michael Smith. I am the Vice Chair of the Essex Junction School Board, also known as the Prudential Committee. And I would like the other individuals up here at the front table to just quickly introduce themselves.
Okay,
I'm Jennifer Ash.
Marla Durham.
good afternoon. I'm Dr. DeWeese, your superintendent.
And
And Dan Ryan, your principal. So, first thing on our agenda this evening is visitors and staff to be heard. Hearing none, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is hearing about our various principals' reports. And Jen Ash will begin by reviewing some of the reports that she has in front of her.
I'll start with Summit Street School. Summit kindergartner Samuel Benson placed second for his grade level at the Vermont State Chess Championship. We hear the trophy is just about as tall as he is. Horsford's Nursery in Charlotte has been selected them as one of the 10 schools for a honey locust tree that they planted in their natural playground on Arbor Day. Some things coming up at Summit. Tuesday, May 14th, they'll have the final PTO meeting at 6:30 and the election of officers. Monday, May 20th will be the student-led conferences held throughout the day. May 22nd, Tuesday, Memorial Day Assembly. That'll feature Miss Mahoney's kindergarten class, and natural playground meeting will be in the Learning Center at 6:30. And on Friday, May 31st, Summit will have their annual carnival from 1 to 2:30. In Hiawatha, they've been working with IBM STEM. The third graders are going to be putting together electrical string instruments, and they'll have a string orchestra later in June. They just had their second annual Roll and Walk to School Day. Joel Rasko, the physical education and health teacher, along with Randa Miller, the school nurse, and Gabrielle Smith, our wellness coordinator, planned it with chips. Over 200 students, family members, and staff joined in. And I think one of my favorite events that I've attended was the benefit basketball game. We saw some of you guys there. The EJ Schools, the CTE, and CCSU Central Office participated in this. And it was a benefit game for the Essex Junction food shelf. Over 500 pounds of food was collected. And they just had a healthy food sampling at Hiawatha. Again, Gabrielle Smith, Joel Rasko, and Bob Clifford staged this for their first ever food sampling, where they got to get treated to delicious foods that were organic and locally grown. Let's see, ADL. They just had their Hello Dolly performance to a sellout crowd every night. 7th grader Anna Ursini came in 3rd place in the state GOB competition. ADL 8th grader Drexel Blair was named state and regional winner of this year's Google Doodle 4 competition. He was presented his award, and his family will be traveling to New York City on the 22nd to hear if he's the national winner, and he'll get to view his artwork on display at the American Museum of Natural History. They are going to have a Memorial Day Assembly and Barbecue on Friday, May 24th. The assembly will begin at 8, and barbecue lunch goes from 11 to 12:30. They will be hosting a summer math program this summer. They've also been working on peer leadership and their action plans. They have a spring concert coming up May 23rd at 7. And their final assembly is Friday, June 14th at 8 a.m. And I believe Principal Ryan will be doing his own.
Yes.
Thank you, and welcome to Fleming School. We're so appreciative of you being here. It's a wonderful month of May, and sort of think that maybe you saved the best for last here in terms of your tour of different schools. We are still in the glow of our 100th year celebration here at Fleming, and in recognition of that, I would like to share a poster with each board member that they can keep for a historical keepsake of the fact that we're in our 100th year here. We're also still certainly in the glow of a wonderful production and performance of The Wizard of Oz that we did here a couple of weeks back, and we're grateful to our colleagues at the high school for allowing us to host this production on their big stage there. It will certainly be part of the memories for these students who are here with us today, and also the other 200 students that had this experience for their memories. Still also in the glow of a wonderful Staff Appreciation Week last week, where our community really thanked and showed their appreciation, teachers and staff in the school, and we're all a few pounds heavier as a result of that, but certainly happier, and we certainly feel that appreciation from our citizens and from the community. I can tell you that I'm going to waive my principal's report as traditionally is written to you. I would share that we're working hard on our school action plan and reviewing that, and have over the past couple of meetings here. That we're looking forward to some events that I would like to invite you to and place on your calendar. We have One World, Our World Week, with a special focus on May 22nd of a special assembly and an evening dinner, international dinner, with a performance from a local band that were themselves refugees from Africa. And they came together and were friends, and so they're going to perform and share with us what it's like to come to this community and be supported by our schools and be creative. We're also going to have a wonderful Memorial Day presentation that many of our students are going to be involved in, and so you are invited to attend that on the 24th of May in the afternoon. One of the things that we really have appreciated and been grateful for and using with that recognition of appreciation in positive and creative ways is the technology resources that this community provides for the school. We're blessed with our Teacher of the Year, our outstanding educator, Dave Davidson, who leads us and guides us in that appropriate and creative use of technology, and I want to take this time at this public board meeting to recognize him and thank him for that work, certainly. And what he passes on and shares with the rest of us really benefits the students, who are going to share a little window in on their learning with technology here this afternoon. Teachers work in colleagueship with Mr. Davidson and with each other to find the best ways to make transformative use of technology. They understand the value, and they understand the value for our students' learning, not only here, but for their future of learning. So we'll get a little glimpse of that through their presentations here. If you would yield the rest of my principal's report to our wonderful learners here.
Great.
Can I interrupt for a minute? Can the camera get a picture of this? Is it possible to show what a beautiful poster this is of the 100-year celebration of Thomas Fleming School? Get it?
By all means.
So,
Present.
I think we're going to start with Mr. Rulin. We have an order of presenters here, and they know their order, and they know their time constraints.
Thanks for having me. I'm Adam Rowland. Dan asked me to present at this meeting. But there had been some interest among some students that I work with in doing a video production club. And I was able to work with Dan and partner with the Parks and Rec Department to make this happen. We did an 8-week session right after the holiday vacation, and we're able to offer it to all students. 7 students signed up. And we started out by just doing small projects, learning about the basic shots you need to do, how to use the equipment and be safe with it. And then eventually decided we were going to move on and do a large project together for the final 3 weeks, do the whole thing, edit it, and put it online for people to see. So we ended up deciding to do a spoof of an infomercial, knowing that infomercials are already bad in themselves. So we would sort of strive to top that. This is what we decided on. It's called The Funnel, and the idea is that this product solves the problem of eating, which is very difficult for us.
Eating food is a problem for all of us. Sometimes your teeth are just too rotten, or the food can't make it in your mouth. Might even hit you in the face. Have you ever choked? I know I've done that before. Sometimes the food just smells so bad. Or you can't get it in your mouth. It just doesn't fit. Well, there's got to be a better way. Introducing, for a limited time only, the funnel. It's just a piece of plastic. Using the funnel is easy. Place the funnel in the microwave for 6 to 7 hours. Then, dial our 1-800 number. We will send a certified representative to help you use the funnel. Make sure to sign our liability form, because we've only tested the funnel twice on humans. Now you're ready to fill the funnel with the most difficult to eat foods. Raise the funnel on high and consume. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it's probably going to break.
So that was our big project, and we had a good time doing it. Probably something we could try to offer again next year. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are some of the actors and actresses here tonight, this afternoon?
No one was able to make it today.
Yeah.
No.
Lisa.
So we have two quick projects to share, and one is with Sky is going to present for us on Comic Life, and it's a program that allows you to create your own comics. And Ms. Coviello and Ms. Alk's class both use this, and they integrated social studies and science and, of course, technology in this project. So Sky's just going to give you a real brief rundown of what the steps were and what they had to do and learn.
So first, we got a partner, and we each drew out a topic, and on social studies for our class and science for the other class. And then we drew pictures for our comic, and then we wrote a script, and after that we went on a Comic Life program, and we picked our format and our colors and which boxes we wanted for the words thingies. And then we put the pictures in, and we added the words, and we made the comic.
That easy, right? It just didn't take any time at all. So here are just a few. So science, dealing with density, where they created their own images and more government. And they really had a wide range of colors and things to choose. Now, Emma would like to talk about another project that we're doing. We've got several this year, but these were the two that we decided to focus on. This was something that students applied for because it was a limited space opportunity, and they gave up their recess time to do this and flex time in the afternoon. And we were trying to create life-size figures to decorate the gym. And so we needed to have some action movements, and Emma is going to talk about this right now. And I'm sorry, this was Sky Yates and Emma Bemis.
First up was for students to pose in like basically any position they really wanted to, and it would sort of be like an action pose, like a cartwheel. You could catch them in a cartwheel, or in or doing a handstand, or something related to that.
And we used digital cameras
we
for that? Yep.
Yeah, we used digital cameras to try to take pictures to catch it like right at that exact moment. But it was really hard because sometimes when we were doing a cartwheel, there would be blurs because the person doing the pose would be moving really fast, and it was really hard to get the exact position that we wanted for them to be in.
And
Next up was like, we were put in groups, so we would have to all agree on one pose that we all really liked, and we would have to enlarge it on 4x8 pieces of paper and trace it onto a piece of paper, and then we would have to trace that. We'd cut out that piece of paper and trace that onto insulation foam board.
And actually what we ended up doing was when we took the photographs that Emma mentioned was to use the projector and project it life-size, so that really saved us a lot of time and effort being able to do that. And then we got into the fun stuff, right, Emma?
Yeah, after Mrs. Foley and a couple of other teachers traced out the foam board, we would have to use primer and prime the foam boards so it would be easier to paint on them. And after we primed everything, we went to the fun stuff and we chose a design that we all agreed on, and we would paint our figures with certain colors and certain designs that we all really liked.
And the painting began, and the amazing thing was with 6 groups of 4th grade and 6 groups of 5th grade, really no pose and no design was duplicated. So we are waiting for the final creations are just about done, and when they're completed, we'll have an unveiling at an Arts Integration Assembly on June 5th. So we'd like to invite you to come at that time and see these amazing works. Right? Thank you, girls. Good job. And the art PE project was done with Ms. McClintock as well.
Can I ask a question? Was it fun or did it feel like work?
It was really fun for all of us, and I think that everybody had a really fun time doing it. I don't think they weren't forced to. I think it's their choice to skip recess and actually help decorate the gym.
Nice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Riley, and we're here to talk about a riddle that we've been doing in our class from Ms. Coviello's reading class. And practically, the riddle is an online way to answer questions that your teacher puts up, or you can see other people thinking. Like, everyone answers a question, as you can see here, and you can add on to stuff. But, you can either answer your teacher's question or make a positive reply to other students' answers. You can also add on, ask more questions to their answer to go deeper into the meaning of the question your teacher put up. And the unique thing about it is it's a live chat with your peers, so you can see their thinking, and you can kind of either relate to that or have a different thinking. Instead of you have your own answer, you can see everyone's answers and see a different perspective of how people took the question. And so, this is my friend Kirsten. She's going to tell you all the benefits of it.
So hi, I'm Kirsten. Some benefits of this riddle is that before this we had a previous book called The Talker. We had to read it and write answers on a piece of paper. Now, I personally think that writing, my hand always gets tired, but they always do sometimes, so you have to do it. So this riddle I think is like genius almost, so your hands don't really get tired when you're doing this, and you can type faster and get all your ideas down. You can really get into the whole conversation with this because our teacher, Mrs. Coviello, she types the whole question, then people answer it, and you get into this whole big conversation about it. And I think it's better than doing paper and pencil because paper and pencil, all you really do is just write. You don't really get to know anybody else's answers. So yeah, and I think it's just really cool because it's new and it's on the mini, and it's also I think really easy to log on because I don't know if you saw Mrs. Coviello do it, but it seems pretty straightforward. Like I said, you get to bridge the conversation, and you are not limited to any like lines. You can like write how much you want. Some kids, they think that it's really hard to come up with an idea, or something they have an idea and they like forget it because they can't write too fast. With typing, they might be able to do that better because it's easy to like jot down ideas, then people comment on it, instead of you just going to somebody and them saying stuff like, oh, I think you might want to change this, but like actually giving positive feedback about that and asking questions. And yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Coviello, did you want to say anything about the experience from your perspective?
I think what I've just noticed is that I've received a lot more feedback from the students on how they've just really enjoyed using the minis and being able to talk to each other live. It's like a live conversation. If you were walking the room, though, a pin could drop. You'd hear the pin because it's just silent. You just hear the kids keyboarding. But it's been a really great experience. It's fun for me because I can also then comment and ask them further questions. So I think it's really let us delve more deeply into the novel we're doing. It's been very fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mrs. Gantoulis.
Okay, this is Celeste and this is Kagan, and they are going to present a voice thread project that we did. So I often work with Dave, and he knows with every piece that we publish, I like to publish it in a different way, and so this is our latest piece that we did, and Celeste is going to explain it to you a little bit.
In reading, we read 5 DCF books, and then we got to choose one that we really liked, and we made a persuasive essay on why we thought that one should win. And then we put her up on voice thread.
So if you click on this is Celeste's, and she read The Apothecary, which is her book. And so
Can you imagine your father being kidnapped and you being left with only a Latin book in your hands? The Apothecary is an adventurous page turn by Benjamin and Jamie trying to find the secrets of Benjamin's father, and meanwhile get through all the obstacles set for them. This amazing book wrote by Maylie Malloy should win the Dorothy Canfield Fisher Award, DCF. One reason that the Apothecary should win the DCF Award is because
we won't make you
it's so
listen to the whole
exciting.
thing, but so then once they recorded it, children were able to go back in and comment on it. And so Kagan's going to talk about how she commented on it.
You went into comment, and then you hit record, and you basically did the same thing as you did when you were recording your voice thread, and you just made a comment instead. Here is my comment that I made to Celeste.
Wow, Celeste, you did a really good job in your persuasive essay. You really made me want to read The Apothecary.
Nice.
Okay, thanks.
Well done.
Celeste, I agree with you. I love adventures too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilmet.
So I'm Mr. Gilmet. I teach 4th and 5th grade here. This is Abby Robbins, who is not shy. She's not going to be scared. This is Macy McGovern. And we're going to just chat to you quickly about an economics project that we just finished up using a green screen and creating commercials. We studied Vermont economics, and to jazz it up a little bit, we gave them an inquiry task of creating a Vermont product that they found interest in, and they brainstormed some ideas and came up with a design where they had to tell us how their product was made and how it was distributed, and then hit on the natural human capital resources, everything that went into making it. And then they had the option of presenting this information by way of a poster, a PowerPoint, a radio ad, or using this TV commercial that Mr. Davidson has introduced us to here. So I'm going to let, who's up first, Macy?
No, Abby.
Abby's going to talk to you about kind of how it all came about.
First we typed our scripts, and then we memorized our scripts. Then when we practiced our lines, when we got our lines down, we started using props to practice. After we practiced using our props, we tried to practice staying in front of the green screen. Because if you're not in front of the green screen, people won't see you and your arms will get cut off. The day of the commercial, we only got 3 takes, so we had to be really careful to stay in front of the green screen. And be careful not to mess up our lines or our movement. Our favorite parts were making up a product and choosing the background for our commercials. Now, here are some examples.
Show a couple these two were in. This might look familiar.
What?
The background, that is.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Oh, my name's Macy. My name's Ryan.
Oops. Come on.
My name's Ryan. I want a backpack that's very light. I want a backpack every day and night. I want a backpack that fits me right. I want a backpack. My back hurts.
Did you say your back hurts? Yeah. Because I do know a chiropractor, or you can just buy a light pack. A special light material so your back doesn't hurt from your backpack anymore. But it might be too much money. After all, we're going to test. It only costs $19.99, and the first buyer gets a free light pack. And it also has these special features like it's waterproof and it also has an electric keypad to keep your things safe. Awesome. You can contact our company at f$a@yahoo.com. So buy light pack today!
Shh, you're in the library.
So buy light pack today! Buy it today! Ow, got it.
Head.
Good stuff.
We're going to show one more here, because we're doing okay on time. Right?
Yes.
Fine.
This kind of stuff you don't rush.
Is that Harrah's department store?
No more of this stuff. Try CAO. Get a day or night price is just $1.99. So come and get your CAO. Just smile down the road. Hello, I'm Cindy. I'm Abby. And I'm Olivia. Try CAO. Yeah.
We are located in Essex Junction, Vermont. It is great because you can use these cans over and over again. We also have a website, www.cao.com.
Call 1-800-CAO. It's cotton candy flavored.
And there's one more that I got to show too that was from Mrs. Gontulis' class.
Yeah.
So,
This is our own Miss Cronin's son.
yes.
This is a hot request in class.
We got beans. Baked beans. Pinto beans. Name a bean, we got it. Barbecue, honey, and of course, original. Come on down, throw in your beans for the best beans around. But wait, there's even more. One can, $4.99, or you can get a Farmer Family Pack, $12.99. That comes with 4 cans. That's right, 4. This offer is only available by TV. Find us at your local grocery. However, price is not assured. Contact us at 1-800-BEANS-FOR-ME, or for more information, go to beansyum.com. Beans are yummy in my tummy.
So as you can see, the creativity comes out as well when creating these.
What kind of accent was that? Kentucky or
I don't know.
Tennessee or
Tennessee, I think.
Carolina? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Miss Downey.
So my name's Amy. This is Ollie and Jonah. And we're doing research projects about the explorers. And they used a program called Crazy Talk. Do you guys want to talk about what you do? Can I get there?
You're already there.
Over there, so. And we're looking for who? Marco Polo. Alright. So do you want to tell what you did to start off?
Well, what we did is we chose an explorer to research. So we researched them, and then we typed up scripts so that we can look at them and make these videos.
You want to show it?
Marco Polo. Yes, you have heard of that game. That game is named after me, Marco Polo. I was a merchant traveler and my exact date of birth is unknown, but people think that I was born in 1254. A few years later, I sailed to Asia and was sponsored by Kublai Khan, otherwise known as the Great Khan. I traveled to Asia to help escort a Persian prince to his wedding party. After the wedding party, I traveled overland to the port of Trebizond
It goes on. And we're going to show one other one.
Leaf Jackson.
So
This is made by our friend, and it's obviously Leif Erikson because it says on the top.
Hi, I'm Nicholas, the first European Vikings who were really cool earlier.
My father was Eric the Red, another Viking explorer. You've heard of him, right? My mom was Shad Hiles. My sister was Freydis. My brothers were Thornstein and Thornvald. They were all super annoying. My brother, Thornvald, was banned from Iceland because he was randomly killing people. Great brother, right? I think he spends too much time playing Dead Rising. I was born in Iceland, sometime in the 1970s to the 1980s. I know which year, but I'm not telling. I got banished from Iceland for some dumb reason, and I sailed to Greenland. I set up camp.
And so on. Some of them took more liberties with the humor than others. They were quite funny. And Jonah wanted to share what some of our future plans were with this program.
Yeah, we might draw some sketches, then make a script or just read our poem. So the pictures that we drew are gonna say our poem, and it's gonna be really fun.
Mm-hmm. I think it was very inspiring for them. They were pretty excited about these projects because they could actually animate it and get really involved. The whole realism factor was
What's
great.
the software again?
Crazy Talk.
Crazy Talk, thank you.
In the research that you did you do some of that online as well as out of books?
We did most of it online.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Ms. Downing also printed out some papers that had information on our explorers.
We were careful. We met with Dave and we learned the appropriate way to find photos and share photos. So we spent some time on this project so that we can extend those lessons into lots of areas. So, good.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Mr. Davidson, would you like to have last word on the state of the technology nation here?
Well,
Yeah.
I think the variety speaks for itself. I think we end up inspiring each other when we see projects like this, and I know that the students really enjoy them. As Dan said at the beginning, we're very appreciative of all the technology that we have available to us here at school. It is, overwhelming sometimes how much we do have to use, and we're very appreciative that we have all these resources to do projects like this.
Question, the minis, you have a classroom or a block of minis that go from classroom to classroom?
A cart. We have a cart in the minis. We also have maintained our lab here, our computer lab.
So you can use both when you did all these projects? I think they're very well done.
That's it.
That's it.
More. We want
That was
more.
so much fun. Thank you guys all.
Thank you
for-
all.
for-
Well done, folks.
coming in.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, that concludes the fun part of the meeting. It looked like everybody had a lot of fun doing that. Okay, well, let's move on to our next agenda item, which is task team updates. Policy?
Policy, the last meeting was canceled. We have a meeting coming up this Wednesday, the 15th at 6 to 7:30. We're still working on the wellness policy and board staff communications policy B20.
Okay.
Leaders at work were canceled. So I have nothing to report on leaders at work.
Well, that was something. Cancel.
I think the month of the cancellations happened this month because there's so much going on.
Okay. Negotiations. We have another meeting with the union on the 21st. I don't want to say whether we're just kind of exchanging information. Has been a lot of what's occurred so far. Communications. We met last week to discuss a little bit about the various boards' discussions of Calendar 2.0 and we put together it should be in your packet of board notes, kind of what the results of our communication activity was at the last meeting, and you notice that we kind of came up with a couple of different communication ideas in terms of what things really need to be or we should focus on for communication. The intercessions, the programs, the calendar were a couple of the big topics. The other piece when we met together at the communications as a communications committee was we identified a significant I don't want to say, I guess, topic for us to focus on for the next year or so, which had to do with community engagement, especially around the calendar 2.0. And so one of the things that we're seeking from all the board members, but for me specifically is from the folks on our board, is ideas as far as how we can engage the community on the calendar. Not only just activities to do, ways of interacting with the community, getting the information out, getting questions asked and answered or further evaluated. And so that's some information that we're looking to gather. So you can get back to me any and all impressions that you have around this topic. Okay. Is that all of our committees? All of our task teams?
Leaders at work policy.
It's all the ones I can think of.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. The next topic is the additional. This is an action item. Is the additional preschool partner. Is anyone going to talk on this specifically?
Well, you've got the attachment 7, which does include on the bottom of that the existing body of pre-approved preschools, partner preschools.
Right.
This is a request to add one to that group. And this is the Discover preschool. It's located in South Burlington. Erin McGuire's done her due diligence with it and finds that to be an acceptable new partner for us to join in with. And she's recommending acceptance of this as our newest partner. So this would be for board action.
All right. So I guess we need a motion first to add this preschool as an additional partner.
I motion that we add the Discovery Preschool in South Burlington as our newest preschool partner.
I'll second it.
A second from any discussion? Will anyone? Additional comments? Okay, then all those in favor of adding, apologize, I can't find the name on here. Discovery as an additional preschool partner, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes 3-0.
Mr. Ryan, perfect timing.
Okay, so next topic is CCSU teacher supervision and evaluation.
We might be in trouble with all the 4th and 5th graders having left.
Right.
We're holding our own here with technology, so that's good. Your board has been asking for topics along the way to sort of deepen members' understandings of various systems that exist across the issue. And this is one that's been in place for a bit over a decade now, and it's what we refer to as our supervision evaluation system. And that's what this presentation does, is to provide you with some context around it. Know that this is about to become history, and that it's time to freshen this, time to renew it for a variety of reasons. But we'll talk about that briefly here. What we've got are 5 different cycles within this system, and we're going to talk about each of those bubbles. But it's an expectation and a requirement that each educator participate in one of those cycles each year. And those cycles are managed by each school principal. So the principals are in charge of really working with teachers to figure out which of these different cycles within the evaluation system that they're going to be in. First is called Focus Assistance, Adapting to New Context. And as you can appreciate, this would be for folks who are either brand new to our school district or are shifting jobs and changing jobs within our school district. This would be a 2-year cycle for those teachers, and it's really about getting them adapting, if you will, to the new environment or new responsibilities, and we call this one Focus Assistance. Next one is about improving current practice. This is for the more experienced educators who have demonstrated documented professional deficiencies. And this is meant to help provide them with an opportunity for growth and improvement. So it really is very much tailored to what it is that those teachers would be specifically working on to improve their current practice. Third one is referred to as AC, Administrative Consultation. If I didn't mention, down below in the right-hand corner are the different acronyms that refer to each one. So administrative consultation can be done once every 4 years, and what this does is to allow teachers to work with the principal to achieve identified goals. So this is a relationship between the teacher and principal around a real goal-setting approach with the administrator being in consultation with that teacher. Next is colleague consultation, which is just what it sounds like. This is where you've got 2 or more teachers who are sharing responsibility between or among them for achieving identified goals. This is more collaborative in nature. And again, this is work that's got to be supported by an administrator to really help sort of monitor the growth within this area. And the last one is self-directed. These are for teachers who want to enhance their PD and focusing deeply on an area of interest or to reflect in a highly reflective way on their practices. So this is really very much a deepening level, if you will, of an approach. And again, this is work that would be supported by an administrator. Speaking about the general process, it is identified within the master agreements, including Westford. This one says Westford, but it also speaks to the Essex Junction agreement. And what's identified is that there is an evaluation process, that there is a probationary period, which is also in law, and there are some deadlines, including the deadline to really inform teachers each year of what the system is. So it's a deadline the principals work in identifying with their teachers early in the fall, so that they know exactly what the process is for that year, and that folks understand what part of the process they're engaged in that given year. And here it is by October 15th, in which teachers are identifying a cycle, or they're being directed to participate in the cycle. And they also, during the same period of time early in the year, identify their own professional goals for the year. So it's a combination of the two, not just which part or which cycle of the evaluation process they're in, but also in a very specific way what their own professional goals are for that year or multiple years. Some additional context are that you recall that every year you authorize the issuance of teacher contracts. Those are 1-year employment contracts. That's the way the law reads in Vermont is teacher contracts are a year-to-year deal. We also do offer some temporary contracts, and that's for teachers who anticipate working for 1 year or less with you. They might be in a temporary situation, might be filling in for a teacher on leave. Those are non-renewable contracts if we post the vacancy after June 30th. So it's a late in the year sort of thing. We've already gone through most of the hiring cycle. And typically it would be for replacement of a teacher who's on a leave of absence intended to come back and work with you. So this is sort of a long-term sub is the way to think about it. It would be the nature of a temporary employment contract. Again, you see some Westward references here. That's the last time we used the presentation. But a probationary teacher is someone who's in his or her first 2 years of work in the school district. And what we know is that we're able to suspend, to terminate, to non-renew probationary teachers without that being subject to the grievance or arbitration processes. So it's a different standard for that group of new teachers to you. And we do use seniority within categories. And those categories, seniority categories, are tied to the teacher's license endorsements, the one that they're using. Teachers might have multiple endorsements, but they're only assigned to one license endorsement category based on the majority of work that they're performing in a category. So if a teacher's working in an assignment that covers more than one license, again, the seniority is only going to be found in one seniority category, one seniority grouping. So some important dates are that we need to notify teachers based on your actions on or before April 15th if they're not to be rehired. On or before May 1st is when we get out the employment contracts, and we want to be clear with teachers by June 15th what their assignment details are for the next year. Within the goal setting process, which is again part of this, we use Charlotte Danielson's work. She refers to it as a framework for teaching. There are now multiple editions out there, and it's helped used to identify goals. And what we've got are some very role-specific rubrics that are in that book that are applicable to others beyond classroom teachers. They can be applicable to counselors and librarians and nurses and so forth. Dan, frankly, is one of our principals who is one of our experts on Danielson's work. And we even met with Charlotte and saw her recently this year about it. So Charlotte Danielson is a national leader in this body of work, and it's really her work that we have used as a springboard for our thinking over the past decade plus. We do use a SMART goal outline to develop goals, and we'll talk briefly about what the acronym SMART refers to. It is the responsibility of each educator and each administrator to use that framework for the goal setting process. We expect every teacher to maintain a portfolio. And at the end of the year, what principals do is to forward to our personnel files the results of all of the teacher evaluations. And Judy DeNova actually is the one that reads through each and every one of those before they're filed. So she's the one that has a working handle system-wide on the work that's come back to us from each of the schoolhouses. What you see here is just an example. Appropriately missing are the names in the left-hand side. But you get a sense of the different years and what different cycle the individual teacher might be in. So the teachers would be in the rows going across, and the columns going down would be each of the years. And you see the flow and the rotation, how they're moving and so forth. This happens to be a Westford example, but it's the same thing applies to you. So we keep this sort of database on all teachers across the district. We're able to trace it back, and once we receive their materials back, we're able to check off that they've been received and so forth. You see some gray areas in there. That just might be a teacher who wasn't here that year, or hadn't been hired that year, might have been on leave that year. So that's where you see some of the blanks coming into play there. There's some additional supports, and that is that folks in my office do offer evaluation services. It's not atypical. It is atypical, but it's not unheard of for folks like Amy Cole or Erin McGuire to be called in by a principal to just provide a second pair of eyes and ears to help look after some specialized teaching positions and help calibrate principals on what they're seeing, what they're finding. So it's a little cross-check that we're able to provide. And we really appreciate the way that principals sort of partner up and that they share evaluation responsibilities when they share teachers. There's some shared personnel across schools, and Dan and Mary and Tom and Laurie and even the high school folks figure out who's best positioned in a given year to take on the responsibility. They compare notes back and forth. So if the one responsible for writing out the evaluation has that sort of input. So it's really a nice collaborative way in which the principals take this on. Talked about SMART. SMART is the acronym. The S in SMART stands for specific. And that is every goal's got to have a specific nature to it, notion to it. And we know that when they're specific, they have a greater chance of being accomplished than just some sort of generalized goal. So again, teachers refer back to the Danielson framework for some help and assistance in how to create the S variable within their SMART goal. The M is measurable, and that is, we've got to be able to attach some sort of metric to it. How is it the teacher and we will know whether or not the teacher goals have been met or not? And we know when teachers measure progress, they stay focused on the essence of the domain and reach the targets for growth in that area. A is attainable. Obviously, it can't just be pie in the sky. It's got to be something that can be achieved. And goals are identified that might be most important at that period of a teacher's career or growth, for their professional growth, and for teachers to refine their attitudes and abilities and skills and capacity and so forth. And what this does, hopefully, is to have them start to check into overlooked opportunities to help them bring about a closer framing of their thinking around the domains. And the domains are very specific within the Danielson framework, and they really are very, very expansive. It's impossible, absolutely impossible, for a teacher to take on all of the domains in a given year. There's just too much involved. And it's a matter of isolating and really trying to be specific and focused on that. The R is to be realistic and results-driven. It's got to represent an objective to which the teachers are wanting to work on, and that fulfills a legitimate need. And obviously, a results-driven goal is going to have the most result on teacher learning, or student learning, which is really what this is all about, is making a difference in achievement. And lastly, it's got to be time-bound, and that is when we've got a timeline, a time frame, some deadlines in place. That certainly helps the accountability piece and makes it more deliverable. So those are all elements of the system. And that's sort of the high order of what's involved. What we do know is that Vermont has committed, I think responsibly so, to some new ways of thinking about teacher and leader evaluation. We've got a committee forming at the principal level. We've got a committee forming at the educator level to really look after over the next year what those changes and shifts and so forth are going to be. We recognize that in a number of other states, part of the deal has been using, to some degree, student achievement data as part of educator evaluation structures, and we're looking closely at what that might or should or could be here. This last group that really steered this, again, right around the turn of the century, gosh, must have been 99 or 2000, somewhere in there. It's been around 12 or 13 years now. Had a teacher majority presence on the committee. It was facilitated by central office folks and principals. Tom Bachansky's had a good hand in the early work. Lori Singer's been doing a lot of good work over recent years on this. And it really has meant to replace what had been a less structured, more differentiated, not in a good way necessarily, approach in the past. I think the teachers have appreciated the fact that this is a more uniform approach across the issue, that there is consistency in terms of how the principals have calibrated their own sense of what they're seeing and how they're using the results. And my sense is there's a higher degree of fairness being perceived in the system now than perhaps there was back in the 80s and 90s across CCSU. So it's been an important piece of our evolution. You should expect to be hearing more over the next year about this. I know that the Westford Board has an interest in rekindling a conversation that was talked about at length when this got initiated, and that was what role might students have? What role might parents have in the conversation about teacher evaluation? And where it got left off last time was that it would not be mandatory, it would be voluntary. Teachers were able to choose to do that. And anytime a teacher chose to do that, they would be the ones receiving the information, no one else would. But that wouldn't be important for me to see, or the principal to see, but it would really be information for their use, for their consumption. The Westford Board has been asking about, and they've been reflecting and demonstrating an interest in asking the question of this committee, is it time for there to be a role for other stakeholders in the conversation about excuse me, teacher evaluation. So that's where we find ourselves. Is that a little helpful to you in terms of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going? Excuse my cough.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dan, anything else that you want to share with our system and how it works for you as a principal?
I thought it was a very concise and clear presentation, and it really captured what happens, what the core of the system is, and what the purpose and how it's used. As Mike said, I think we are ready for shifting to whatever's next. But I think we've established a good foundation and a fair foundation for supervision and evaluation. So I'm sure whatever's next will be built on the effectiveness of this system and the fairness of it.
Now, you were talking about this system, this evaluation system we're using at CCSU level, but you're talking about there's thoughts of a new evaluation system within the whole state of Vermont?
That's right. Called Educator and Leader Principles for Guidelines. Guidelines for Educator and Leader Evaluation. I think it's evaluation. I'm trying to remember the name of the document.
Effectiveness, is it?
I'm sorry?
Maybe it's effectiveness?
Effectiveness, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Effectiveness, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And it is part of what the state has to commit to the feds with respect to our own growth, our own evolution in terms of continuing to receive federal dollars into the system. Vermont has not elected to get into the race for the top competition, which some states have, but nonetheless we are committed through our Secretary of Education to honor some federal guidelines and federal requirements around that. So it's a national move, and it's time for Vermont to come into the queue on this.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you, certainly. Are these sorts of mini presentations helpful in terms of just hitting high points along the way?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's also important to show what the model is, and then you're telling us it may be changing so that we know we should be having updates as the year goes along.
Yep.
As to where it stands.
Right.
That helps, I think, plan our agendas.
Sequentially, we're expecting to have the leader one in place first and the teacher one in place second. So you should look forward to some results on the leader evaluation changes first.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is a policy discussion on Act 153 and 156.
Why don't I keep talking on that one, and
Yes.
some SU board members can jump in as you'd like.
Please.
What we've got is a General Assembly that is wrapping up either today or tomorrow, we think. And part of that work has been some review of Act 153 of the 2010 biennium and Act 156 of the 2012 biennium. And it has been really vetted through House Bill 521, and it's trying to provide more clarity and expectation around what has been, in many ways, in my opinion, over my career, probably the most sweeping piece of legislation yet. And that was 153. 153 did a lot of things, but a small but huge part of it, if it makes any sense, a small part of the bill, but huge implications, was that of centralizing services from school districts to the SU level for purposes of efficiency and effectiveness. And there's a long list that include things like transportation, curriculum, purchasing services, construction services. It's a whole long list of things. And what we find is that CCSU, over the years, had been taking that direction anyway. And that by and large, we'd already ticked most of those things off our list historically. Where we hadn't yet come into compliance was around the new expectation that special education personnel be moved from local school district employment to SU employment. So it would mean a downtick of about 12% of employees, roughly, at the local level, and a huge increase at the SU level in terms of its employee base proportionally. So local school districts' budgets would go down, SU budgets would go up. You would move from what you've currently got at 5 labor units, 3 teacher units and 2 support staff units, to 7, adding 1 more teacher unit, 1 more support staff unit at the SU level. It would be an increase in collective bargaining because you'd have 2 more bargaining units to work with. And this only applies to SUs because SDs already have those conditions in place. The ideology behind the bill was that the legislature heard that in some parts of the state there had been some over-hiring of special educators, that perhaps a small little district needed a 0.6 special educator, but were hiring a full-time special educator because they liked who they had or were afraid they might lose that person's services. And that's what the General Assembly was concerned about, was that there was an over-employment, if you will, of special educators across the state, and that by moving them all into a centralized SU location, that the deployment of those personnel could be maybe more efficient and more effective. Well, that hasn't been our experience. Our experience here in CCSU has been that Erin McGuire, and before her, Joanne Canning, and before her, Frank Murphy, have just been almost spot on with their service plans. And the service plans are plans that they have to present and prepare and present, and deliver to the state by about October 15th for what their crystal ball shows we're going to need a year out, not that school year, but the school year after, for special education services, what students' needs are going to be, what sort of time and talent those kids are going to need in terms of specialized services, and what our plan is going to be around staffing. And they've been eerily accurate in terms of what they foreshadowed. And that's because the principals have a good pulse on what's going on. It's because of some stability within our school district enrollment. It's because of what we know about our kids. And it's because we've been properly staffed. And then you get a chance at it during your budget season to really verify that. So you work with us to really look at your personnel listings, figure out what we need. Do we need more of? Do we need less of? And together we make those decisions during the budget season. So the SU board has said, look, we think we can do this differently. And we think we can do this without having to uproot folks from being employed in the Essex Junction district and others and moving them into SU employment. And instead, why don't we approach this from a policy perspective? We already know how to do this. We know how to do this because we've been doing it for years with food service folks. The food service personnel that work in your school aren't employed by your school district. They're employed by the high school district. We've done this even longer than property services, where property services folks aren't employed by your school district. But your school district has a mechanism that we work with you and the high school district to pay back the high school for services their property services folks provide to your school district. We've got a lot of IT cross-district services where Vince Canello oversees a lot of staff, and he's able to sort of mobilize and send his cavalry into a school or into a district that might need it for that day or for that week. So we've got an awfully good track record around that. But more importantly, we've got 3 school boards that really know how to play ball together. We've got 3 school boards that have been cooperative, that work on task teams together, that have gotten to know each other, and in this SU really do approach things from a pre-K through 12 tech lens, where you're not divisive as boards. You're not fighting each other for resources. You're not arguing about nits and nuts and bolts and so forth. You're able to really think more holistically across this SU, and because of those conditions, you might be different. You are different than a lot of SUs across the state. And Dan knows what I'm talking about because you worked in other SUs beyond this one.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, what the SU board is doing, and is going to put the state on open notice in a very transparent way about this, is we can do this by policy. And the SU board is going to be considering the first reading of that policy this month. And we're also hopeful to be able to give the SU board a more detailed copy of the procedures that would be attached to that. And procedures right now are being informed by your teachers union. And the teachers union is very, very positive about this approach that would allow the superintendent on an as-needed basis to change personnel midstream for that year. So when you think about that last conversation, where employment contracts go out around April or May, between then and 14 months later, the subsequent June 30th, if things change, this doesn't exist, but let me just use a wild example. If a family with 10 autistic kids moved across district lines from one district to the other, and I needed to move some personnel from one district to the other, then I would for that year only. And we'd work on a mechanism where the payment and the cross-billing and so forth would occur between those districts, and then we'd recalibrate. Okay, at the end of that year, we'd be doing the layoffs or rehires, whatever we got to do, get things back to normal. Okay, but we wouldn't be any more than a year off in that sort of cycle. I was asked how often that would foreshadow that need, and I honestly don't know. But the best answer I could give was maybe once every 5 years. I mean, it just hardly ever happens around here. There just isn't a need for it. Westford presents the biggest wild card just because of its scale compared to the high school district scale and your district scale. But beyond that, it just isn't a need because of how accurate your special ed directors have been with their service plans in the past. So first reading of this is coming up later this month. We may be the only SU in the state that is approaching it this way. We think it's smarter. We think it still satisfies the spirit and intent of the law. And the one thing the law has clarified is that it's the SU board's choice whether to engage support staff personnel, such as your instructional assistants, in the mix or not. So in my mind, that reduces it just to the teacher audience. It doesn't involve whatsoever the IA audience. So what you saw in New York is just a copy of the draft policy. The SU board took a look at it in March. Wasn't ready to hear it in March. We'll hear it more properly at the May meeting. And again, where the rubber's going to hit the road on this is around the procedure. And it's really important to me that we in the union are on the same page with respect to knowing what the rules of the road are going to be in the event, in the year, at the time, at the moment that this is going to happen. We'll have to exercise, when the superintendent will have to exercise his or her authority to make that happen. And again, union is very appreciative of the SU board for taking this direction. So that was for the benefit of Jen, is our one non-SU board member. But does that give you a flavor for where the SU board's trying to take this policy?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
I think the one I would have is the contractual assignments transfers. This is just about moving. This isn't about adding or removing personnel, right? If in the middle of the year.
It'd be about shifting maybe,
Just
that one example, a teacher from another district into yours, and you have to pay the other district for whatever is owed in that teacher's contract. Or if somebody moved out of here, they'd owe you for you were giving up that teacher for that period of time. I mean, it could be for the last week in June, it could be for 3 months of the year, it could be for all 9 months of the school year, but not longer than that. We would go back to what we know how to do, and that is reduce in force or go through a hiring process and get things normalized again in the next year. And it's not only about need in that district. I mean, we've seen that before, where districts had to midstream pick up additional personnel. This is about if there's potential surplus in one district and potential need in another district. It's about then taking that person, moving that district person across lines into that other position.
The other place I've seen it occur and we've experienced here is if you have a specialized need, such as a communications facilitator for a student, to be able to have that specialized support staff member to travel with that student across district
Right.
is also very helpful.
The relationship already exists. And
Yes.
that's really important.
Yes.
Yep, good example. So really proud of the SU board's forward thinking on this, and I think there's great potential here.
Yeah, I definitely like it better.
That made a lot more sense when we discussed it than trying to come up with a different bargaining
Yeah.
unit. That was a lot of work you were gonna have to go through.
Yep.
So hopefully the state will be receptive to what we're doing.
The state didn't change the deadline. Whatever is going to happen has to be ready to roll by July 1st, 2014. So that's still the
July 1st.
operational cutover date.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you again. All right, next topic. Affirm a planning date and agenda for the board planning. Unfortunately, I don't
think it's been confirmed yet. It was August 1, 2,
right.
4 through 9.
I know we had some
Only a couple have responded, I think.
outages at the end here, so,
So is it the first week of August that you're referring to?
yes.
5th through 9th, is that?
Is that what it
It's
was?
1, 2, it's that Thursday, Friday, and then the whole following week.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So without Charlie here and David here, should we figure out a different way to figure out that date, or you just want to pick a date?
Well, we were sent a schedule and times by Cindy
On
to
the-
sign up.
The meeting wizard, yep.
And
Yeah.
I
We are the only
looked,
two that have, I think.
yeah, that's what I noticed, I think. The last time I looked, it was only Jennifer and
And I
I.
hadn't looked any deeper when I did it, so.
And my dates are tentative. I know that if we pick a Wednesday or Friday morning, I'm more apt to be released from work to be there than I am other days of the week.
And I had put down both Fridays work for me, so that would sync up with me.
Right. And because we only, I know 3 of us could make a decision on this, but it's not we don't have to take an action on it today. If I can get the other 2 people's information, we can have it before the end of this week, though.
Okay. Yeah, great.
If that still works.
Sounds like you're steering toward the 2nd or 9th at this point.
Yeah.
That's
Would we
'Cause
meet the way we
Yeah.
did last year, like for breakfast? And I liked our location last year. I thought that worked well for me.
Yeah, it's at 8 to noon.
Yeah, if that's available, I think we can do what we can to accommodate that.
Sure. Good.
Is it,
So Michael, you'll see what you can pull together in that
Yeah.
offline? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
do we need to discuss what we want on the agenda, or?
Need to know at some point, yeah, we'll need to.
Um,
You got some thoughts about that now, Melanie?
I would really like to discuss the space needs and special needs that are cropping up in the district,
Okay.
and how that affects the space and class sizes. I think that's important with what's going on to be looking at. And what was my other thought? I had another thought, and I've already lost it. It'll come to me. I can email.
Perfect.
Well, you got 5 minutes before the end of the meeting, so you can come up with it. You can get it into the meeting minutes.
I do know that we'll have to, probably our planning. I know we had discussed the superintendent's evaluation was going to be based on work plans that came out through that and funneled through the CCSU. But with the change of Mike this year, I'm assuming we'll go very light with what we're looking at and try to just keep things running. Basically, is that the right way to look at it, Mike?
You know, I anticipate that's going to be a conversation at the SU board meeting
Yes.
in 2 weeks, so I think that's actually on folks' minds as well.
Right.
I
You're
think
correct.
we could add, I know communications works with this, but after the budget meeting, what can we do, what brainstorming can we do about how to get and communicate to the community, like the calendar 2.0, like the preschool slots, when people were saying that they haven't heard of this and these things happening, and the swimming at EGRP, that type of thing. How can we get information to parents quickly and timely so everyone's informed. I think that's something I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
And
So additional communication approaches and,
I know the other thing we need to discuss, are we going to try to meet in each school at least once next year? And is there going to be carousel meetings? We had discussed not
Right.
doing carousel meetings. If we're not doing carousel meetings, it'll be easier to be in our own district schools. But
I'm pretty sure I heard that's also a conversation point for the SU board meeting, is the frequency of carousel and how to change that for next
Yep.
year. So
we haven't been given a common calendar, yearly calendar yet, have we? Developed for next year?
student or board calendar?
Board calendar.
No.
No.
But again, based on the conversation at the SU board meeting, you will.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where they're just trying to finalize things
Okay.
because of those sorts of questions about carousel and so forth.
right.
Yeah.
So I think by the time we meet for a planning date, we'll have an idea of discussing if we're going to keep continuing
Right.
to meet in the schools. And I would like to know before that planning date how the principals feel, if they felt this has been effective. I know Mary Hughes had said it was effective, and Tom Bochansky had told us it seemed effective, and you're saying it's effective. So-
Ditto.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, tonight, one thing I really loved was that it was an easy opportunity, because of the transition right from the end of the school day into the meeting. It was a great chance for the kids to stick around for a little bit longer and then be able to do a presentation rather than bring them, if we're gonna have a student presentation, to bring them to a meeting at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening to do the presentation, and that seemed like it worked really well in this instance. So.
And RETN doesn't seem to hate afternoon meetings either. So.
No, the guy's all smiles every time I look out there. So.
You know what I find with having the students here and their discussion of technology like it happened at Summit Street, I actually learned more by watching and observing them.
Yeah.
And it brings it realistically home to me how learning has changed and developed. And hopefully people see it on camera, because a lot of people, I'm sure, still think in the back of their mind, why are budgets like this? Why do you need so many special educators?
Yeah.
Why are you using technology? And I think life has changed, the technology has taken over the world.
In differentiated instruction, we refer to that as KUD. Can the students demonstrate that they know, that they understand, and that they can do with what they've learned? And I think you saw that represented in the presentations, that they had some knowledge, that they had understanding of what they were talking about, of that knowledge, and they presented that they could do with it.
Right.
And that they're engaged and excited. The excitement on their face is great to see versus reading. They've got some new iPads, that you get to see that in the kids. So they're enjoying it.
That was wonderful. Just love it.
All right, that's very cool.
Does that give you some ideas for an agenda?
It does.
And then we can think of some more.
Yes.
Is planning day a good time to talk capital plan or be brought up to date on where we stand in the capital plan? When we were doing the tour, part of the tour, we should know, but we're trying to remember what we've got in the capital plan and what's going on at the schools, because we're asking the principals, has this happened yet? Has that happened? So I think an update on that, or a process of where we stand.
Because as you'll see in the consent agenda, some of those things do shift, and it's not a bad idea to stay fresh on that. So, good.
That's it.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
on this topic?
It's 4 good ones right there.
Great. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda.
I did provide 2 additional professional appointments to the board at the start of the meeting.
Anyone like to take a moment to look over those? If you just be familiarize yourself with them.
Let me see how many I read.
Are these signs? How's that work? I don't remember.
It says the ordinance, the board chair, so you, Charlie, can figure out.
Oh, okay. Does say in there? All right. Oh, it does. Okay. Well, if you've had a moment to take a look at that, I just need a motion to...
Can I
Oh.
ask some questions of Mike?
Of course.
Of course.
Um,
I'm gonna
thank
have
you.
that after the motions are made.
Question on the Hiawatha art teacher. It's a .45.
Yes.
Will she be shared, he or she be shared anywhere else in the district, so we don't have the potential of losing good candidates when we get them?
Don't believe there's any sharing of the Hiawatha art teacher elsewhere. You met Miss Foley this afternoon. She is shared between two buildings. But no, this is a... The departing individual did work at two schools, but only one of which was yours.
And then, so do we ever look at that as a board if someone is unhappy and they're looking at other districts, if we've got an employee that we want to try to keep, do we ever?
Certainly, principals and we have those conversations. This is as much about scheduling as it is anything, in terms of, when art is taught, what the master agreement speaks about the length of the art periods. It really is centered a lot around that. This individual is retiring, so that's...
Right.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's not about unhappiness.
No,
it's about
I knew.
fulfilling career completed.
I'm just thinking when we hire new people, I know years ago, we had some music teachers. I was surprised when we were in the schools as a parent, when I was talking to one of the music teachers. I mean, they get out of school, they've got all those loans.
Yep.
And they have just a piece of the teaching salary, and it was kind of sad to hear that they were still having to live at home, so.
Yep.
And the ELL, it seems like all the other hirees we have are for ELL.
They are, yes. One is the long-term sub.
I was going to ask that. Why is one temporary and the other two renewable?
One is going to be covering for a teacher on leave.
Okay.
It's very interesting. One of the candidates' names is the same as one of the students' names that you met this afternoon. That's interesting. Just realize that.
Oh, yeah.
The only meeting minutes I see in the consent agenda are meeting minutes of 4/10/13, April 10th.
We need to make a correction in the minutes as well.
So, like to pull those then? Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any January 14th minutes to share with you.
I finally sent the minutes for the joint trustee meeting, and Cindy has posted them online.
Okay, great.
But those will have to be at our next meeting.
Okay, so no January 14th.
The January 14th one, I wasn't at that meeting, but can I help anybody get those minutes done, or?
Michael, do you recall who's doing those?
It was Charlie. I know Charlie
Yeah.
took responsibility. I'm almost thinking when a chair is chairing the meeting, and if I as clerk am missing, it's almost easier to have someone else in charge of the minutes because the chair is so busy, I think, following the agenda.
Right. I agree with that. But in the end, we still have to follow up on the January 14th,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
And the other minutes we need next month are March 26th. I
And then we
believe it was
need
the
the-
26th.
Okay, so that, and then the March 26th.
Dan, I know you've got an appointment that you need to get off to.
No,
so
I'm fine.
You okay
I'm
right now?
good.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes,
And so we're going to pull the April 10th
thank you.
for further discussion, all right, for corrections. But then we could still approve the rest of everything else, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just need a motion to pull the April 10th minutes and approve the rest of the consent agenda.
I will move that we approve the warrants, the professional appointments, the rec pack appointments, the bid approvals, that we appoint the EJSD clerk and treasurer, that we acknowledge the retirement, and we have a vote by proxy.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, 3-0.
And have the warrants been signed by 2 board members?
I need to sign it.
Great, thanks.
Still working on that. However, you had, with the April 10th minutes?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
questions?
it's page 6 of them.
Okay.
It's just a date, towards the bottom.
Is there a line number?
Oh, yeah, 254.
54, thank you.
251 says the half day of school on Monday, June 17th, which is correct. Line number 255 says that they accepted the end of half day on Monday, June 16th. So that needs to be changed to the 17th.
Okay.
So it's being changed, what, 16th to the 14th?
To the 17th.
To the 17th.
To the 17th.
Yeah, I'd rather not be telling kids they're coming for a half day on Sunday.
Right. Okay, any other corrections? Comments? Okay. Then I guess, need a motion to approve the minutes with, as corrected?
I motion we approve the April 10th minutes with the corrections.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 3-0 on that one too.
Just need some signatures there when you get a chance.
Okay. Well, next topic is future agenda items, which we did bring up a bit when we were talking about the planning day and agenda.
June 17th is your June meeting.
Right.
That is a carousel night.
Is it a Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the last week of school.
That's the
Last
day.
day. Yeah, last day.
We definitely have to have on the minutes of January 14th and March 26th on that.
So have the missing the missing meeting minutes.
And if I can help anyone get the January 14th minutes done, I'll be glad to try to help.
Okay. I always have great items when I'm not thinking about it. Now I'm thinking about it. I can't come up with the.
What do we have to
Yes.
do in June? Don't we usually
Oh.
meet with the principals for a action on their, what their plans are for the next year?
Action plan and PD plans, yeah. That's usually a June activity.
Is
Principals
that
each
a-
take 15 or 20 minutes each to.
Okay, that's a
Right.
June activity. Okay.
Okay. So that's the action plans. And will those be sent to us in advance so we can read them and then ask questions that night?
Yes.
And then, and if the capital plan, an update on that is too much for a planning day, we could do that too
Okay.
if you had time.
Capital plan.
Action plans, capital plan update, the missing minutes.
You normally have to meet for a quick meeting in July to set the rate, but that's usually not scheduled until July.
Right. I always forget about that one because it's so quick. It's like, can you? Yep, then, okay, good, let's meet, boom, call, done, bye.
Oh, I know one thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know if it's appropriate for June 17th or for action planning, but I wanted to discuss the principal reports.
Okay.
I think the principals put a lot of time and effort into them, and I'm wondering if there's some way we can make sure they're posted online in case we're missing things here when we're summarizing it. Or I'd like an idea of how the principals feel about doing them for us too.
I think they prefer to write 35-page reports each month, but
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if,
Single spaced.
why, I mean, is there a way they can be changed that is easier for them? Would they rather be giving them every second meeting? I mean, I'd be curious about feedback.
yep, the principals are doing this at the board's request. So, I mean, the board set out its expectation and the template, so it'd be a good conversation for the board to start with in terms of how well the reports are serving your needs and are the topics the right ones, and, is it too much or is it just right or the frequency just right? I think that since you're the primary audience, and there certainly can be a secondary audience, we can certainly figure out other places to place them, to publish them if you like. But I think that's an important question because there is a lot of work that does go into those, and I think that's a great idea for the board to consider how much value they provide to you, because that's why they're doing them.
I mean, there's a lot of detail in there, but on the same hand, will we be given that detail as an agenda item at some point, like under action planning? And, I think it's worth a conversation.
Well, we could talk about the topics that they could touch upon or not talk about in the principal reports.
Because the categories are what you've said you want
Right.
to hear about, so that'd be a good place to start, is with the headers, the categories.
And this is finishing up year 2 of doing them, right?
Sounds right.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll have had that amount of time to kind of digest what we've read through and how it's helped us to understand what's going on in the schools. Okay. Great. Post-meeting communication opportunities.
You've got the One World, Our World week that
Right.
Dan has told us about on May 22nd, the 2 p.m. assembly, and then I think Dan was going to let us know what time the dinner and the music starts.
Right.
And that sounds exciting, Mike.
It does. Yep.
And then the Memorial Day program at Fleming is going to be on Friday the 24th at 2 p.m. And I know in the principal notes there were other Memorial Day plans at all the other schools. I think the spring concert that at ADL that Jennifer mentioned, May 23rd, I think you said, at 7 p.m. I think it's the last spring concert. You've already held yours, right, Dan?
No, our spring concert's later, the first week of June.
Okay. I just can't remember the date myself. I should know, but I don't. And then we'll have a few other end of the year activities that the board would be a good idea to participate in.
School barbecues too.
Yep.
Yep. The Tuesday, May 21st is the Memorial Day Assembly at Summit.
Okay.
They're going to have their carnival the May 31st. from 1 to 2:30. I know that Hiawatha is going to have a Memorial Day Assembly and walk. It's not in the notes, but I know it's that Friday before, the 24th, I believe. Maybe 2 o'clock. And let's see what everybody else got. Spring concert is the 23rd of May at 7. Memorial Day Assembly the 24th at 8 a.m. And then 11 to 12:30 is the barbecue.
Right.
So.
And then there may be, sometimes we need to coordinate as far as if there's some teacher retirements that
Yep. Hiawatha
we would like
has
to have
two.
a presence
Yeah.
at.
Right,
I really liked going to the ones, when we did it last year.
presenting the athletes.
Yeah, and just being there, it's certainly nice to.
So
just be part
Hiawatha
of
has
that.
2. Is there any other schools that have?
I don't know.
I can't remember, but we'll have to coordinate that with
Let's do
Cindy as
that,
far
yeah.
as making sure we have everything ordered.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Thinking of these dates and post-meeting communication opportunities, when I was on the trustees site, I was reading, they're actually putting on their website some of the events being held in the schools, I noticed.
Oh, okay.
Or in the community, and I
That's
thought that was because of the work. Maybe we should be communicating with them instead of it being worked on by us and worked on by them. It made me wonder if there was some kind of coordination.
They say they love our website. They just get so much information about our events and whatnot that they're happy to use.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. It's nice to see it on there that the trustees have it because we're part of the community.
Exactly.
And thank you, Principal Ryan. The tour, I love that the kids
Yes.
gave us a tour. You've got some really mature 4th and 5th graders here.
Yes.
It was
Today,
great.
today was all 5th graders, but
Yeah.
they did great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jonah, Sky, and
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah.
I knew the last one. Thank you again.
Thank
for
you
that.
very much.
All right. Well, that's it. We are adjourned.
5 o'clock?